I have just spent like a whole hour and a half talking about what I think intergenerational solidarity is, so I would love to know what you think it is.
Intergenerational solidarity is something, I think it's relatively new. You know, HIV is what kind of brought our communities together.
Yeah.
You know, many of us weren't expected to survive to this point, so we didn't think there would be anything about intergenerational. Actually, today's the 10th?
Today is the 10th.
So 2 days from now, on May 12th,
Yeah.
1989, I found out that I was HIV positive.
Wow.
And I was told I wouldn't live to see 30, most likely. Here I am 60.
That's right, yes.
So,
for so many queer and trans people, I think we're told we do not have legacy and we do not have future. I had to live so much of my life as an individual person struggling to survive. I think having intergenerational community has given me family.
my peers, and they still say these things. Young people need to know what we went through, know what we fought for, and they need to respect us. And I'm like, why do they need to do that? You sound like their parents, you know?
Vince Crisostomo is one of the best people in the whole wide world. Hearing the vulnerable way that he talked about the healing capacity of love completely transformed me. In the 8+ years that I've known you, you've always been so curious and just open to embracing things as possibility. How are you like this?
Well, you know, I had a partner, and in some ways I still think he is my partner, even though he passed. And I used to start everything with, in my experience, and one day Jesse just goes to me, Vince, there is so much more to AIDS than your pathetic experience. So can you just quit saying that? And I just looked at him, I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh, is this where we break up?
Whoa.
And he's like, you know, you need to think in terms of possibility. Think about what you can do in the time that's been allotted to you, as opposed to what you can't do, and focus on that. He said, we'll be a lot happier in this household if you do that.
So much of what I have done throughout life has been like Sammie against the world, like Sammie hustling about it. But coming into intergenerational community, I have been confronted with the fact that I have never done anything fully alone. We come from a long lineage of badass people who have demanded their humanity, and that act enables our lives now. I really consider so many of the things that I've learned from history, like, people made mistakes, so we do not have to make them again.
Yeah. I think a lot of our issues in my generation, I could be wrong, and I'm sure that someone will tell me if they hear this, but a lot of the things that we face, a lot of the hurts, had to do with this very binary system. You know, we had very set roles, and you did this, and if you didn't do this, you were wrong, or you were, and what's happening now is just so amazing to me to watch and listen to how people identify, and that this opens the door to possibility.
As a person with family from the Philippines living in diaspora in the United States, there's been a movement to ensure that the ways that we're talking about ourselves as people from this diaspora is gender inclusive. And so the word that people are using is Filipinx. I think I use Filipinx to also acknowledge what it has meant for me to grow up in a Filipino household and to emerge as a non-binary person and to center my work with trans and queer people.
Nobody asked me when I was 24 what I wanted the world to look like. There's just been this shift as I try to reach back to my 24-year-old and say, what did you want out of life, and did you get that? You know, no one encouraged me to be my true, authentic self. They encouraged me to dial it back. And so now I think we're setting this tone, and not only for younger people, but older people.
I mean, it's so interesting to think about, like, when we did that SF Pride thing in 2019, I remember calling you and being like, all right, these are the demands, like, we worked really hard, we crafted these things, we thought about what we need as a community, and you just paused and you were like, these are the same. And I mean, in some ways that's good because we have been aligned over time. And in some ways it's so disheartening because it's like, we have been aligned for so long and so little has changed. Some things have gotten worse. Some things have gotten better for sure. I mean, I think for me to even exist.
Because I don't think we've ever had anything any one way.
Yeah.
And I guess, for my peers, just to realize is that this is what we fought for.
And the things that you all have done have made my life livable. When I say that this is community, I mean these are the people that have housed me when I did not have housing. These are the people that have fed me when I did not have food. And these are the people that challenged me when I was not acting in alignment with my values or with the way that I want to be in the world. One of the only things that has kept me working at the intersection of queer and trans and Asian American Pacific Islander, even despite things feeling everlastingly difficult, is actually having these connections. Because it's through these connections that I can talk with people and be like, yeah, you've been doing this work for 30 years and there's been like plenty of hard things, but also so many stories of joy.
And maybe this is the message, is that as we meet with younger people, we heal because we know that those efforts weren't for nothing. Yeah, I think intergenerational solidarity will be that just acceptance that this is who we are, this is who we were, and hopefully we will agree as a community that this is where we want to be or who we want to be.
Yeah, acceptance really resonates with me, not in any way that is passive, but like a really active acceptance. Acceptance of the hardships of the past, acceptance of who people are. The fact that we've also had very different experiences. I think that's one of the things that I've found challenging doing intergenerational work is sometimes people are like, yeah, I struggled this way, like, you too. And you already said it, but it's like, you struggled that way, so I don't have to. All of our stories are not just individual experiences, they connect in really meaningful ways that illustrate a broader constellation, and those constellations form our culture.
There's so much of our history that hasn't been told in our community, and I'm hoping that our elders, my peers, will start to tell those stories, because if we don't tell it, someone else will.
That's right, and they'll tell them badly.
They'll tell them badly, right.
I'm always thinking about if something is a preference, if something's a tradition, or if something's a requirement. And I think so much of what people hold on to as requirements are just traditions.
Yes.
They're just doing them because they think they have to be done this way, but no, that's not true. We have seen all the ways that movements and organizations and relationships have been completely broken because there was not enough time and space given to address conflict.
There are so many examples that we should have learned from that we clearly did not. But there's no time like the present,
It's never too late to make a good decision.
It is never
That's
too,
right.
that is so true. So I'm hopeful that this time the change will be lasting and we'll get the results that we've been hoping for.
And working for so many years.
Yes, and working for some. I've got the gray hairs to show for it.
Mine are coming in slowly but surely, they're coming. It's not like best friendship, but when I think of the bond between Vince and I think of the ability to return to one another and to support each other with some of the most difficult things that we could imagine. And just having the door open to sharing about our hardship or simply to affirm that we matter. I think part of intergenerational solidarity is making the space for people to release the pain and the hurt so that we can actually reach that vision of where we want to go together. I don't just see the things that I'm doing as 1-year goals or 5-year goals. I have to frame my work with urgency, but also with patience, understanding that impact continues to show up well after the program, the campaign, the rally has ended.
The work is not done. Whatever successes we have somewhere, someone is still being born and still coming out. And so, as long as that happens, the work continues, but also the healing.
Right alongside it. They have to happen at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Healing is the work half the time.
Yeah, healing is the work.
Healing is the work. I think that's like one of the things that I've learned the most. I think solidarity is the work that we do to build relationships and understand one another. Even when it's unclear how we fit into that puzzle, we show up anyways because of how deeply we understand our lives as interconnected.
Yeah, I mean, also in my culture in Guam, we have this thing called chinchuli, which is everybody does what they can do. You bring what you do best, and so whatever age, there's a role for you to play.
That's what I'm always, that is literally what I'm always saying. There is a role for everybody.
You know, and if we recognize this in each person, the beauty and the pain, then that leads to the connection and that solidarity. I think.
That's a pretty good guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to keep working on it, figure it out.
It's a work in progress, definitely.
Yeah, that's the truth.